Mr. President, contrary to what may be popular belief, there are plenty of Democrats in this body very much worried about Iraq. The question is, what do we do about it? It is complicated, I'll be the first to admit, but the first thing we have to assess as a nation, does it really matter what happens in Iraq? Clearly, I think it does. Economically, if Iraq becomes a failed state, the oil production in the south falls into the hands of the Iranians. Iraq becomes a failed state that spreads economic chaos throughout the region. You will feel it at the gas pump. We will feel it at the in your wallet eventually. So an economic collapse in Iraq would affect our economy and our ability to recover. I think it would throw the world oil market into turmoil. So it matters economically. Militarily, does it matter? It does in this regard. ISIS is an offshoot of Al-Qaeda because Al-Qaeda kicked them out. These people now are going to have safe haven from Aleppo, Syria, to the gates of Baghdad. They have sworn to attack us. Part of their agenda is to strike our homeland. Their goal is to create an Islamic State, caliphate, that would put the people under their rule into darkness. And I don't want to hear any more war about women stories unless you address Iraq and Syria. You want to see a war on women? I'll show you one. Can you imagine what little girls are thinking today in the Sunni part of Iraq and in Syria? Can you imagine the hell on earth? Well, the people who will do that to their own, what would they do to us? I don't mean to be an alarmist, but I am alarmed. I'm just telling you what they're saying they will do. Our Director of National Intelligence has said that the safe haven for ISIS in Syria, now Iraq, presents a great threat to our homeland. The mistake President Obama is making is not to realize that we need lines of defenses. Why did you want to leave a residual force behind in Iraq? 10 to 15,000 would have given the Iraqi military capacity they don't possess today, confidence they don't possess today. It would have given us an edge against ISIS that we don't have. A Toyota truck doesn't do very well against American air power, but when you have no American air power, when you leave the intelligence when the intelligence capability of the American military leaves, the Iraqi army goes dark. And you've seen a collapse of the Iraqi army that I think could have been prevented. You can't kill all the terrorists to keep us safe. Our goal in this trying time is to have lines of defenses, to keep the war over there so it doesn't come over here. It is in our national security interest to partner with people in Iraq, and there were many who wanted a different life than ISIS would have. There are many Shias who want to be Iraqi Shias, not Iranian Shias. I've been there enough to know. So this fateful decision to look for ways to get out totally has come back to haunt us. And we're on the verge of doing the same thing in Afghanistan. I promise you, the Taliban would be dancing in the streets. They just do not believe in dancing when they heard that we were leaving in 2016. Can you imagine how the Afghan people feel who have fought these thugs along our side, believing we would not abandon them, now to hear that we're going to pull all our troops out but a couple of hundred? Can you imagine how a young woman in Afghanistan feels? Can you imagine how people in Pakistan feel? A nuclear-armed nation that could be in the crosshairs of the people trying to take Afghanistan down. But it's just not about the people in Afghanistan. What about us? President Obama is going back to a pre-9/11 mentality. On September the 10th, 2001, we had not one soldier in Afghanistan, not $1 of aid, not even an ambassador. To those in America who think, if you leave these guys alone, they'll leave you alone, you're not listening to what they're saying. And the only reason 3,000 Americans died on September 11th and not 3 million, they can't get the weapons to kill 3 million of us. If they could, they would. And they're very close. So, Mr. President, recalculate your decision on Afghanistan. If you pull all of our troops out, the Taliban will regroup, the Afghan army will meet a terrible fate, and the people who wish us harm will be coming back our way. The region between Afghanistan and Pakistan is a target-rich environment for the world's most radical terrorist, radical Islamist. So at the end of the day, Mr. President, your job is to protect us. You're destroying the lines of defenses that exist. The Afghan people are willing to have us stay there in enough numbers to protect them and us. Mr. President, before it's too late, change your policies in Afghanistan. Mr. President, do not take this country back to a pre-9/11 mentality where you treat terrorists as common criminals when you read them their rights rather than gather intelligence. We're letting our defenses erode all over the world. The enemy's emboldened, our friends are afraid. And I'll tell you this, if we continue on this track, it will come here again. With that, I yield the floor to Senator Chambliss.